This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Preliminary numbers from Manitoba's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner shows there were fewer drug-related deaths in the first 6 months of this year compared to the same time period in recent years. Still a leader in Manitoba's harm reduction community, tells us more services are needed. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
Sunshine House Executive Director Levi Foy understands the risk of substance use. The organization runs a mobile overdose prevention site. Foy says the team is out 5 days a week. They see hundreds of people.
We have a variety of different reasons why folks come in. Most people are coming in to grab supplies, safer inhalant supplies, naloxone kits.
Preliminary numbers from Manitoba's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner show there were 203 suspected substance-related deaths in the first 6 months of 2025, a decline from the same time period the 3 years prior. Foy says the numbers aren't necessarily reflected in what they see, but points to awareness around harm reduction as a possible factor. One example, carrying the opioid-reversing drug, naloxone.
I know in my own family and in my own community, there's a lot more conversations about what does safety look like for folks who are using drugs and what does kind of community safety look like for everybody.
The Office of the Medical Examiner's Executive Director, Stephanie Holfeld, says the short-term decline is encouraging. However, given the constantly evolving nature of the illegal drug supply, our optimism remains cautious. While the numbers are preliminary, Holfeld says this appears to be a true shift in the number of substance-related deaths. Her email says other provinces and parts of the U.S. are seeing something similar, and possible reasons include drug checking services or changes in drug supply. Foy would like to see more services available, including a supervised consumption site, an NDP promise.
That's kind of one of the motivators that gets the team through the day, because people are overworked and they're stressed and they're tired, knowing that, there could be, we don't have to be the only kind of crew out there doing this type of work.
Manitoba's addictions minister says they're working on it and knows it's needed. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, the days of free evening parking downtown could be ending. It's one piece of a new 5-year strategy to modernize parking plans in Winnipeg. The city says there is limited curb space in high-traffic areas for parking. And ride shares, taxis, and food deliveries are all also fighting for a piece. CBC's Cameron McLean has more.
Farouk Mussin's customers need a place to park.
It's not convenient at all sometimes.
The owner of Bronuts in the Exchange District says his business relies on people stopping in for a quick pickup, but finding a spot can be difficult at times.
We need this spot to be available all the time in order for our customers to be able to come and pick up and for our business to thrive.
The city says parking in busy areas like downtown or Corridon has gotten harder. Curb space is increasingly being used for everything from ride-hailing and delivery services to patios and bike lanes. To deal with that growing demand, the city has unveiled a new parking and mobility strategy, a 5-year roadmap for how it manages curbside space and parking access. Public Works Committee Chair Janice Luke says changes are needed as the city grows.
So there's been parking reductions, and that will create more demand. As the city increases and as all these other variables are happening, that increases more demand for parking on our streets.
The plan would create a new process to regularly review and adjust parking rates and hours, linking them to demand. That could eventually mean paid parking later into the evening or even on weekends when it's now free. It could also lead the city to reduce prices or eliminate paid parking in areas where demand is low. But officials with the Winnipeg Parking Authority say drivers shouldn't expect to see sudden swings in the city's parking rates.
So it's not going to be things where you see a daily surge of pricing going live throughout the day. It's more that we'd be looking at the trends over a year, maybe even 2 years, before we look at adjusting rates.
If council approves, City staff will spend the next couple of years gathering and analyzing data and consulting with businesses and residents before identifying new high-demand zones by 2028 and potentially expanding paid parking by 2029. Council will vote on the plan later this month. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A doctor at Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre was assaulted on the first weekend of 24/7 police patrols of the hospital. Police say the assault was reported shortly before 11 a.m. Sunday. Security staff at the hospital were dealing with a patient who had assaulted an on-call doctor. A patrol unit at the hospital for a different issue stepped in to assist before requesting help from officers stationed at the hospital 24 hours a day. A woman in her 30s was taken into custody and faces a charge of assault with a weapon. Police would not say what the doctor's injuries were. A healthcare aide and a nurse were assaulted by a patient at the same hospital less than 2 weeks ago. The Filipino population of one small southwestern Manitoba town is booming. The rapidly growing group of newcomers now make up nearly half of the town of Neepawa. And one new business owner is cashing in on the opportunity to highlight her culture and bring a taste of her home country to others. CBC's Chelsea Kemp has that story.
Frying food up for the lunch rush. It's another busy day at Neepawa's Vigo's Pinoy restaurant. Catherine Vigo opened the restaurant at the start of October in the town of just over 5,600.
I want them to feel like they're just in the Philippines. Everything that they miss in the Philippines, I cook here.
The Filipino population has grown to 2,600. Now, almost half of the town's population. Vigo says that means there's more people looking for a taste of home.
When it comes to dishes, everything is special. It depends on the customers, what they want to order or they want to eat.
Marilyn Crew says newcomer businesses have doubled in the last decade. She expects those numbers to keep rising as employers explore different immigration pathways to fill labor gaps and community needs.
I see the opportunity for my newcomer entrepreneurs to help meet those expectations, whether it's a senior care store or a new sports store or whatever it is that might be next for Neepawa.
Neepawa Settlement Services, Ilse Pineda, says Filipinos remain the newcomer majority, but more people are arriving from Mexico, India, Ukraine, and other countries.
It's very safe to be being here. Welcome. The community makes you feel very welcome, friendly.
Carmela Comilla runs Lola's Bakery with her family. She says families are choosing Neepawa because it's peaceful and family-oriented, while home to a strong Filipino community.
It feels like you're in the Philippines because you hear them speak Tagalog, you see them Filipinos, and they eat Filipino foods.
Back at Vigo's Home Pinoy, business has been booming. Vigo is serving Filipino classics alongside dishes like biryani rice, sushi, and takoyaki.
So those are different dishes that the Filipinos doesn't make, but I want everyone to welcome, so I'm making different kinds.
The community's steady growth hasn't come without challenges. Experts say Neepawa needs more housing and daycare spaces. Their hope is local entrepreneurs can help fill those gaps. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Neepawa.
The mayor of the RM of Taché says he's looking into more protections for staff and emergency crews after a violent display was set up. A gallows with life-sized human beings, including one dressed as a firefighter, was on display on a rural property of Saint-Geneviève. A sign next to the display says Taché Municipal Masters for sale. The mayor says they held a meeting on Saturday about the display. He says safety for staff is a priority.
The people that work for the Arm of Taché, for the members of council, and for our first responders, specifically our firefighters, because what type of safety issues are they going to be faced with in the future? We have to be ready for this.
Well, the display has now been taken down. The mayor says it's disturbing to think someone would put it up. RCMP are investigating. Time now for a look at weather with Riley Lachuk. And Riley, I thought I was going to blow away this afternoon. It was so windy out there.
Yeah, very windy conditions, not just in Manitoba, Brittany, but into parts of the U.S. and into parts of Ontario, even looking at some very windy conditions today. I'll go into a bit of detail on that. A little bit later on, but look at some of the numbers from the afternoon. Our peak wind gusts today, almost 70 kilometers an hour through Brandon into Dauphin. Portage, 63, close to 50s. I mean, these are just the top of the clock readings from Environment Canada, but it gives you a sense at some of the wind that we've seen throughout the day today. Mostly sunny skies today, looking at a low of 1 overnight tonight, Brittany, increasing clouds and some sunny breaks into tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
How the city's new rules could reshape where Winnipeg's homeless encampments are able to pop up. What it means for those living there, that's coming up next. Estimates show there's roughly 100 different encampments around the city of Winnipeg, with as many as 700 people who call them home. But the city is about to put new limits on where people who are homeless can sleep outdoors. Restrictions that could change the face of encampments across the city. CBC's Cameron McLean took a closer look at where and how those rules could be imposed.
The number of unhoused people has exploded in recent years, and so have homeless encampments. Roughly 2,500 people were living unsheltered last year, according to the most recent street census. It's become a lightning rod issue in the city, sparking protests and prompting concerns about safety, with many reports of thefts and violence.
These actions were taken as part of an investigation into the possession of property obtained by crime.
He feels cute though, eh?
Janine Desjardins has been living here for a while.
All winter and all last summer. I was been struggling ever since. I don't know. I don't have no family here because they all passed away. Most of them.
Misha, do you know how to use Allen keys?
She says her support system is here, in this camp, with people that take care of each other. In less than a month, though, Janine's community here could disappear.
So this is Winnipeg. That's where we're not allowed to be around here, or we're allowed to be here.
Those are the spots that are going to be banned. You're not going to be able to be there. The parts that are dark?
Mm-hmm. The city's first ever rules about where encampments can be go into effect mid-November. They mostly target areas where kids, families, and seniors participate in recreation activities. To get a sense of how this could change the landscape of encampments, CBC News mapped out the areas where the council motion calls for encampment restrictions, focusing on central neighborhoods where most of the city's homeless population lives now. Under the new plan, encampments will be off limits within 50 meters of playgrounds, pools, spray pads, or outdoor recreation facilities. Enforcement zones also include anywhere within 30 meters of transit shelters, bridges, docks, and piers. The list also includes 50 meters around the perimeter of schools, daycares, adult care facilities, as well as rail lines. This plan raises some questions. Take where I am now, outside Mawston Park. The city hasn't said that all parks will be off limits. So will this park, lacking in any of the family-friendly structures the city outlines in the plan, be exempt from the rules? There is a curling club next door to the encampment that could be considered a recreational facility under the new rules. But does the city mean 50 meters from the building itself, or the property line? If it's 50 meters from the perimeter of the building, they can technically stay where they are. But if it's from the perimeter of the property line, it violates the new rules. Lucien Barron lives in the encampment and says he too supports the city's plan and would be willing to move. He has a young daughter who lives with her mother.
I'm glad they're enforcing it. Like I wouldn't bring my daughter down here. Not a chance. Obviously, there's drug use here, and kids don't need to see that. They really don't have a voice.
They just ripped this open, and it was just, come on in.
Billy J. lives in an apartment building within sight of the Mawston Park encampment. He says he has dealt with break-ins at his building.
The cops came, the arson unit came.
One time, he says someone lit a fire outside his door.
I don't want to come off as like I don't have empathy for these people. I don't want to come off like that. But at the same time, I have rights too. We all have rights.
Mayor Scott Gillingham says the encampment prohibitions won't solve homelessness, but they're intended to free up public spaces intended for their use.
I think what's important is this is brand new for us as a city to be enforcing these no-go zones on encampments. And so that protocol will evolve over time.
The city's plan takes a tiered approach to enforcement. Camps near sensitive public property like schools and playgrounds will get top priority. Camps not near sensitive property, but with large numbers of people or debris, come next, followed by small, low-impact encampments with minimum health, safety, or nuisance concerns. The plan does not include additional funding or staff. It's using existing resources, including 2 bylaw officers and a coordinator.
We don't have the staff for it.
Fort Rouge East Fort Garry councillor Sherry Rowland says encampments have taken a toll on her ward. And past attempts to break up camps have simply moved people into more sensitive areas, such as behind businesses. She worries the city's plan will produce the same results.
It's just making very vulnerable people have to work all day to get the same belongings, that sleeping bag or what have you, and move it somewhere else.
If the city's new plan gets her thrown out, that's Janine's plan.
Move a little bit that way, a little bit more. I grew up on my own, took care of myself my whole life, so for me, I just know what to do, how to survive.
Just one more bump in the road for a life that has had many. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
All right, time to bring Riley back. Now, Riley, we know that it is darker in the mornings, a little bit lighter since that clock moved back. Checking in on all my parent friends today to see how they've been handling this
Parent
time
and
change.
Pet friends.
Right? A tough weekend for some of them.
Yeah, exactly. With that time change, let's just take a check on where we are going as we go through the next few weeks here. So this afternoon, at sunset happening at 5:01. Yeah, that seems early, but it's only going to get, as it always does, earlier from there as we head toward the solstice in December. And 3 weeks from now, that sunset down to 4:34 in the afternoon. So that just gives you a bit of an idea on where we have come and where we're going. Upper level winds. This has really played a really big story in our weather here over the last 24 hours or so. Not just in southern Manitoba, southern Saskatchewan, but really through the U.S. Midwest and into parts of southern Ontario, with this trough that's formed over northern Ontario, northern Quebec, plus a ridge back into parts of the northern states. It's really pushed all this upper level air and some of this very strong wind over our neck of the woods through southern Manitoba and really right across into parts of Ontario. So that's what's helped to sort of drive some of that wind that we've seen today. Like I said, partially because of this area of low pressure that sits over northern Ontario, northern Quebec. Few stray showers, maybe some flurries as we get through the overnight hours along the Hudson Bay coast. The rest of us, a cleared night, but we do get some cloud building in as we get into the morning hours tomorrow. So central parts of the province, first thing, looking at more of a sunnier start, but some of that cloud starting to build in to southern Manitoba as we get through the afternoon hours. But then we start to see a bit of clearing in there. So we will get a break. So that's why I'm saying sunny breaks as we get through the day tomorrow, with a bit more cloud cover still lingering and maybe even some flurries through parts of northern Manitoba as we head through Tuesday into Wednesday. We get under, or try to get under, at least a little bit of high pressure that is short-lived, because I am watching another system that is approaching from the west here as we get toward the end of the week. And this could bring us some snow to parts of the province through the Friday, Saturday time frame, for example. Your winds do start to back off as we get through into the morning hours on Tuesday. So more like 20 gusting 40 for the Red River Valley into the Inner Lake, but already getting back into northwest 10 gusting 20, for example, into parts of Westman before we start to see that picking up a bit as we get into the day on Wednesday once again. So a bit unsettled the next couple of days. Temperatures at or just below the freezing mark first thing in the morning. Then in the long range, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds for Tuesday, 8 degrees, 6 for Wednesday, and then there's a bit of cloud cover, Brittany, that starts to build in. And yep, there's that chance of some light snow as we get into the weekend.
Well, I don't love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
We have much more to come right after the break. Those beautiful fall leaves. Stay with us. Politicians across the country are denouncing a decision by the Supreme Court of Canada on child pornography sentences. The High Court struck down mandatory minimum sentences last week for accessing or possessing child pornography. CBC's Gavin Axelrod, joins us live. And Gavin, where does Manitoba's Premier stand on all this?
Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew joined other political leaders in calling out the ruling. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he'd use the notwithstanding clause to overturn it. Premiers Doug Ford, Scott Moe, and Danielle Smith have also spoken out against the court's decision. Kinew says he agrees with Poilievre and his provincial counterparts, and the court's decision doesn't make sense to the average person.
Not only should go to prison for a long time, they should bury you under the prison. You shouldn't get protective custody. They should put you into general population, if you know what I mean. Skinners? This is the worst.
Manitoba opposition leader Abhi Khan asked if Kinew would ask Prime Minister Mark Carney to invoke the notwithstanding clause. Kinew didn't say if he would.
So, Gavin, today the back and forth over a bill that would see the creation of a 72-hour detox facility at 190 Disraeli continued. So what is the NDP saying on all of that?
Well, the Manitoba government is threatening to extend this legislative session to make sure Bill 48 gets passed. The legislative session is supposed to end Thursday, but Kinew says he will keep it going after an already scheduled one-week break if the bill doesn't pass. Government House Leader Nahani Fontaine says the PCs are playing games.
Because of certain individuals' egos and because people don't take this job seriously, they're willing to put Manitoba lives at risk.
Fontaine also says she met with Opposition House Leader Derek Johnson. She says she offered the PCs one of the amendments they want in order to pass the bill, but says they rejected that offer. Johnson says the government could have introduced the legislation a long time ago.
It was only brought forward from committee on October 23rd and only allowed us to bring our report stage amendments forward on October 27th. At no point were we not going to bring our report stage amendments forward and call for a vote on them.
Now, earlier Monday, before question period, the government said it has boosted hospital capacity in Manitoba. The NDP say they've added 323 new hospital beds since 2023. 10 of those include new ICU beds that were added this year. Brittany.
All right, thank you. That's CBC's Gavin Axelrod. He spent the last 2 years at a supervised medical facility. Now he wants a judge to lift his high-risk label. Trevor Farley was found not criminally responsible for killing his parents and trying to kill his former supervisor due to a mental disorder. But he was designated as a high-risk accused. It's rarely used in Canada and believed to be the first time a judge has used it here in Manitoba. But now Farley is fighting it. CBC's Arturo Chang reports.
Trevor Farley agreed to come to court in handcuffs, even though he's not a criminal. The Winnipeg nurse killed his parents and stabbed his former supervisor 4 years ago. He was found not criminally responsible due to mental disorder, but a judge gave him the extremely rare high-risk designation, the first time it's happened in the province. Being high risk means he can only leave medical supervision with a judge's approval. Court will be hearing arguments all week on whether to revoke it. Farley stabbed Candice Swarek several times shortly after he killed his parents. She said it's too soon to remove that designation.
Terrified at the thought, that he would be out. But it's been hard. I mean, it's not a day goes by when I don't think about what happened. And the whole last 4 years, it's very much a part of my life.
Court heard on Monday from the psychiatrist who diagnosed Farley with bipolar disorder. He says his case was atypical, and it's hard to predict when he may have his next psychotic episode. But the psychiatrist also said he wasn't in the right medication at the time, and it's reassuring he sought help before the killings. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Winnipeg man charged with importing more than 60 kilograms of cocaine in a commercial truck has pleaded not guilty at the first day of his trial. Verinder Kaushik was charged with possessing and importing drugs after Canadian border officers found an estimated $6 million worth of cocaine in his truck. A border officer testified he searched the truck at the Emerson border in July 2023 because the driver gave unusual answers. He said the truck was filled with bags of corn, but when they emptied the corn, officers found a metal plate and kicked it loose to find 63 bricks of cocaine. The Crown says they'll prove the driver knew the drugs were there and was involved in laundering the proceeds of crime since 2021. Members of Souris' Pride Committee are upset after an alleged act of vandalism on the weekend. The rainbow crosswalk on Crescent Avenue was painted over with white paint. The Pride Committee believes it happened sometime between Friday and Saturday. They say the crosswalk, originally painted in 2021, has been targeted in the past, but that this latest incident is the most severe. The town's mayor and council posted on Facebook they're saddened to see the vandalism. RCMP say they haven't yet received any reports at this time. First Nations veterans were honored for their service and their sacrifice at an annual summit. The event is put on by the Southern Chiefs organization. It honors Indigenous veterans from the province, and this year's theme was Look How Far We've Come. It comes days after the Canadian Armed Forces apologized, saying racism has no place in the military. One veteran says First Nations soldiers feel more comfortable embracing and sharing their culture and identity today than when they first joined the armed forces.
To be surrounded by folks with that shared lived experience of wearing the uniform and that service history, and being around your peers and your comrades in a day of celebration and honoring, it's really heartwarming, and it brings a lot of healing to a lot of folks.
He hopes changes will lead to more First Nations people considering careers in the military. Well, to some, it's a massive sinkhole. To others, a big washout. But to almost everyone around Rosenort, it's a problem they're left to deal with. Residents are forced to take a lengthy detour after a section of road collapsed months ago. And the fix is going to be costly. As CBC's Jim Agapito found out, it's left a community caught in the middle.
Along this country road, there's an issue. This sinkhole is cutting off access for nearby homes, causing stress for the community of Rosenort, Manitoba.
It's a fair-sized sinkhole that we have here.
According to Deputy Reeve Mervyn Dewick, the hole first appeared in April. 7 months later, it's grown significantly.
Essentially, it's culverts that let go, either rusted or separated, and it creates a cavern underneath, and it just slowly erodes underneath. This could have been going on for who knows, a year already. I would say it's roughly 20 feet deep, 100 feet long, 30 feet wide.
People who live here say it's posing challenges for the community.
It's road access for the 2 yards that are immediately across here that are caught between the Morris River and the diversion that we have. What we have done to help them out is we graveled the dike road, which is strictly for their use and not for public use.
What it means is that 2 residents can use the dike road, while the rest of the community finds a workaround, which means longer commute times in a community that already has limited roads. And it poses a safety hazard, as resident Luke Corbett explains.
I mean, the drop there is somewhere between 12 and 20 feet. It's a big drop. Well, there's a few families that would come by very often, and I would just caution them that things were actively falling in and we didn't want anyone to get hurt.
But in order to start repairs, the municipality needs approval from the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans.
They want the fish ladders. From what we understand right now, they're putting in bigger culverts, lowering them into the riverbed, and then normally I think what they've done is they put rock in there so that the fish can swim through. They needed input on this project.
And that's because it's shared with the Morris River, is that correct?
Yeah, it is the Morris River that we're crossing. It's caused us a little bit of grief.
In a statement to CBC, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans said they provided advice on how to protect the fish, their habitats, and stabilizing the water crossing. They also gave guidance on how to replace a culvert under the Fisheries Act. But the Reeve says this community will have to be patient for that work to begin.
First of all, we got to get engineering done and jump through all the government hoops, and then we got to find a way to fund it. I mean, 1.2 million, if that's where it ends up being that we have to do, that's going to take a little bit to do that.
Luke Corbett says he just wants the repairs to start.
when you start bringing in different government agencies that need to make decisions and say this is who's going to do this, that's not happening within a year.
And that means people living here are going to have to take the long way around for the foreseeable future. Jim Agapito, CBC News, Rosenort, Manitoba.
A storied run for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is over. The Blue and Gold won't play for the Grey Cup for the first time since 2018 after being knocked out of the playoffs by the Montreal Alouettes. Quarterback Zach Collaros thinks the team still has what it takes to win another championship.
I don't think it's the end of an era. I don't even know how to kind of categorize it. Obviously, if you're grouping things together, when you make it to 5 straight Grey Cups and then you don't, I guess it's a kind of a cutoff there. But I think we still have the pieces in place. I'd like to continue to do this. I love this sport. I love this league. I love this organization first and foremost.
Collaros says he was frustrated, disappointed, and didn't think the team played well on offense this year. The company that owns Kleenex is buying the maker of Tylenol for the equivalent of $68 billion Canadian. In the massive deal, Kimberly-Clark will own about 54% of the combined company. It brings several household cleaning brands and health-related products all under one roof. Tylenol was recently in news because of the Trump administration's unproven claims linking it to autism. The Carney government prepares to release its first budget, and they say it's got something for all Canadians, even the opposition. More ahead of the hotly anticipated budget next. The minority Liberal government is set to deliver its first budget on Tuesday, and it's not clear whether it will garner enough support to pass. As Olivia Stefanovich reports, the Carney government's survival is at stake.
In a break with tradition, the federal finance minister making his own footwear before delivering a budget meant to build up the economy.
This is a moment where, Canadians should be proud that these shoes have been made by folks here in Canada, made in Canada for Canada. Same shoes that the RCMP officers are wearing across our nation.
But in an effort to continue that momentum and make the country more resilient, the federal government is planning to spill red ink, lots of it, in the hopes it will turn black. CBC News has learned the budget will include tens of billions of dollars in savings over the coming years, altering the tax structure to favor competition and growth. Changes to a tax credit, allowing businesses to write off investments in equipment or other assets that boost productivity, and a halving of the Trudeau-era plan to plant 2 billion trees by 2031.
The budget tomorrow is all about, it's an investment budget. It's a generational shift.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow will be the 10th costly Liberal budget.
With the deficit expected somewhere between $70 and $100 billion, opposition parties aren't yet saying how they'll vote, but they are laying out conditions.
The choice for us is simple. If a budget brings down the cost of living, we'll support it.
It sounds like he's bargaining with himself.
The minority Liberals only need 3 votes from outside their party to pass their economic plan. If they fall short, the government will fall.
I don't think Canadians want an election, that's for sure. And my own view is I don't think Canada needs an election right now. That's why I've said it's up to Mr. Carney. I mean, he has to draft a budget as a Prime Minister in a minority parliament that earns the support of one other party. And that's his job.
The government has a few weeks to earn that support. A vote isn't expected until mid-November, the first federal budget in 18 months. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
A union that represents thousands of federal public workers here in Manitoba is bracing for that budget. There's concern significant workforce cuts are coming. Last week, Canada's finance minister called the size of the federal workforce not sustainable. There are more than 13,000 federal civil service workers employed in Manitoba. The Public Service Alliance of Canada represents about 9,000 of them.
And I think sometimes people think of public service workers as a bunch of bureaucrats with no face. But when you need them, you expect them to be there. And that is our biggest concern.
Any cuts to the civil service come as public service unions are in bargaining with Ottawa. A University of Manitoba labour expert says that timing could plunge Canada into significant labour relation tensions. A 13th century building in the heart of Rome has partially collapsed, seriously injuring one person and leaving another stuck under the rubble for hours. Firefighters managed to rescue the trapped man late Monday. His medical condition isn't known yet, but he was conscious when he was rescued. The 800-year-old tower near the Roman Colosseum was undergoing renovations before the initial cave-in. Officials say there are signs of life from the trapped restoration worker, but the 29-meter-tall structure has become unstable, complicating rescue efforts, which stretched into the night. All right, time now to bring in Riley again. And Riley, we've talked about the darkness and we've talked about the wind, the snow that's in store for us in the coming days. Do you have any good news?
Well, I mean, the wind's dying down, Brittany, is one thing. If you're heading out for a dog walk, probably in better shape into Tuesday than it was for your Monday. All right, here's a look at Maverick, who is eagerly, I think, awaiting to go for that walk while stuck under that blanket. Yeah, I'm the best of both worlds there as well. Send your pictures, as always, to talkback@cbc.ca. So 3 degrees first thing in the morning. We should start to see winds dying off as we get through the day, although we could still see a bit of a breeze at times as we get through the day. Tomorrow, 8 into the afternoon and partly cloudy sky into the evening at 6 o'clock, of course, with that sunset now happening close to 5 o'clock. All right, having a look outside right now in Winnipeg, it's 5 degrees, a west wind at 15 at the moment. Pressure is rising and looking at temperatures across the province, fairly similar. Very seasonal for this time of the year as well. Looking at temperatures right now into Brandon, into the western part of the province, looking at close to normal for this time of the year. So 7 in Dauphin, for example, 3 in Thompson, Island Lake, 6 degrees, 2 degrees in Churchill. Overnight temperatures tonight, again, close to seasonal, a couple degrees above for most of us, actually, as we get through the overnight hours. 0 in Dauphin, a pair of -2s through Brandon into Verdun. That's when we start to see a bit of cloud cover building in through the overnight hours. Peguis at -1, 0 in Red Lake overnight. In northern Manitoba, close to freezing again. There's the chance, I think this icon's overdoing it a bit, but there is a chance that we do get into maybe a few flurries along the Hudson Bay coast overnight. Tonight, Dooley Lake at -1. As we go into the day on Tuesday, mostly sunny skies, really Thompson, Lynn Lake and south, although Lynn Lake we could get into a few flurries as we get into the day tomorrow. But other than that, most of the north looking at fairly sunny conditions, 3 degrees in Flin Flon and the Pas by noon, looking at temperatures topping out around 5 o'clock, or 5 degrees, I should say, through the afternoon hours. And as we get into Tuesday, we do start to see that cloud cover building into the south as well. Temperatures first thing in the morning around the freezing mark, with Sagaming at 0, 2 degrees in Dauphin. By lunchtime, popping up to around 4 or 5 degrees, which is seasonal for this time of the year for most of us across the province. And we do start to get back into a little bit of clearing in northwestern or in the western part of the province as we get into the afternoon. And Brittany, temperatures staying very seasonal for this time of the year. We should be around 4 or 5 degrees. Well, these temperatures, a couple degrees above that. I'll have your 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit.
There's the good news. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, for some, it's a daily struggle trying to get basic services in one of Canada's official languages. French services are not always easy to come by. It's a problem Manitoba's government says it's trying to fix by pushing to have a truly bilingual province. But what that looks like is still a work in progress. CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco breaks it down.
It's a question Ray Zabado asks constantly.
Well, if you do have that in French.
But she hit a roadblock. No one is available to help her in French.
It becomes a guessing game, or you have to make the decision, is my need urgent enough that I can, get it in English and work with that?
Online public services like healthcare or car insurance are available in French. But to speak with a service provider in that language usually comes with delays or by appointment only. Sometimes, she says, it's simply not possible.
It's not just a language, it's a whole history, it's a whole culture, and we really want this to keep being part of Canada's culture.
That's what the Manitoba government says it's working towards.
What I would like to see is folks being able to go out into their community, to grow up in their community in the official language of their choice, and to be able to thrive in Manitoba.
Premier Wab Kinew wants this province to be truly bilingual. He says that would improve access to public services in French and would recognize bilingualism in the law, like in New Brunswick. That province is the only officially bilingual one under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Provincial legislation there makes it mandatory for public services to be available in both languages, no matter where you are. In Manitoba, the legislature and courts are bilingual, but lawyer Guy Jourdan says outside of those, other government services don't have the same guarantees.
There's an obligation for departments to prepare, to develop French language services plans, but there is no clear indication that they have a legal obligation, a legal duty to actually provide those services.
Manitoba could change its legislation, even ask to amend the charter to be bilingual on paper. The province tried to do something similar in the 1980s, but there were protests, vandalism, and even fires set in opposition.
I sincerely hope that the Kinew government will take into account the possibility that this could happen.
This political science professor says legal changes for bilingualism are premature. He says there is already legislation for the delivery of services in French, but it has been largely underused.
We don't know if those plans exist. We don't know if they're enforced. We don't know if there's any monitoring going on.
That could be the starting point to improve French services in Manitoba and eventually make good on the promise of becoming truly bilingual. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead, a smashing good time was had getting rid of all those Halloween pumpkins. Plus, Riley's back with a last check on our forecast. This is Manitoba. And this is Manitoba on your smart TV, because CBC News is now streaming local. Local news and weather on your connected TV or favorite device. CBC News Manitoba, streaming now. Cookie brand Oreo is introducing some new flavors to celebrate American Thanksgiving. Cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, and apple caramel pie are obvious choices to twist, lick, and dunk. There's also sweet potato and cream corn flavor. But how about Oreo cookies covered in fudge that taste like turkey and gravy? Well, these limited edition line flavors are inspired by the holiday season. Americans celebrate Thanksgiving on November 27th.
Okay, I don't know about some of those, but I could do the pumpkin pie one. All right, let's have a look at your 7-day forecast now, and we're looking at a bit of brief clearing, then some cloud cover building in. So we're calling it a mix of sun and clouds as we get through the day on Tuesday. For Winnipeg, 8 degrees. Wednesday, a bit more sunshine back into the mix at 6 degrees. Again, our normal high for this time of the year, around 2 to 4 degrees across much of southern Manitoba. Then we're looking at some cloud building in for Thursday, looking at a chance of some light snow as we get through Saturday, tapering off into Sunday. These temperatures are a bit of a reality check as well, at or just below the freezing mark. All right, one weather picture for you tonight. Kim, near Toulon, taking this lovely picture of a rainbow, and you can send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. As always, love to see what your corner of the province looks like.
Love them. And you know what? I have to say that those Oreo flavors, I don't know about that. I'm still making my way through the Halloween candy that's left over as well.
Exactly.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, Halloween is over, and maybe you're still feeling a little upset over the Blue Bombers getting knocked out of the playoffs or that big Blue Jays loss on the weekend. So tonight's Daily Lift is for those who love a good smash. Well, nothing quite like getting all that frustration out with a big pumpkin smash. Edmonton held its annual one yesterday afternoon. A similar one also held here in Winnipeg, but this one used a hydraulic lift to drop the jack-o'-lanterns. Others were tossed from a catapult. The smashed up pumpkins will be used as compost. It's one way to get all that frustration out. We hope you have a wonderful night. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.